Great. How are you?
I am doing so good. I can't wait to start this today, but I'm so excited to find out how your week in sales went.
Oh my gosh, you're going to laugh.
Anything exciting?
I have a good one for you.
You have a good story? Okay.
I have a good story.
Let me settle in because you have really hilarious stories. All right.
Settle in. Here we go. Okay. So for all you listening out there, Angie knows what I do, but not all of you know what I do. So I'm in sales. I'm a territory sales rep. I cover an entire state and I wear a lot of different hats because I call on different clients. I call on dealers, not the typical dealer.
What kind of dealers? Let's clarify.
What kind of dealer are you calling on?
Not pharmaceutical dealers.
No.
No judgment. No judgment to those drug reps out there. That's not what we're talking
that's true. I was a drug rep for a while. That's hilarious. Anyway, okay. So I call on flooring dealers, floor covering dealers. I'm a commercial sales rep. And so I call on flooring dealers, contractors who purchase from me. So I'm more of like customer service, sending samples to them, pricing their projects, and then ordering projects with and for them with our customer service team. And then also I call on end users like school districts, municipalities, and then I also call on architect and design, which is more like business development. So I'm a business development rep. There's not a lot of like exchange of selling products to them. It's more providing services to them when they need it, like samples for projects or whatever. So I was at this new floor covering store. I've never sold to them before, but they do have some samples from the past rep. I wanted to just go in and kind of check out what they had going on. I had a couple price requests from them. It's a small territory, small part of my territory, like a rural area.
I'm trying to see where this is going, but I'm super excited to hear it.
So I've got my
people you've never met before. They have no idea who you are. Yeah.
I've got my warm winter coat on. I've got a couple new books. I'm going to update their library of architect folders and I'm going to meet the people. So I visit for a little bit. I go check the library, I meet the commercial rep, and then I'm hanging out with three of the women that do kind of the walk-in orders. They're dealing with a lot of residential, but they also do some commercial work. And we're just visiting, chatting, the three of us, two behind the desk, one next to me. And I'm at the front of their counter where customers would come in. And they all asked for a business card. They're like, yeah, let me have your business card. So I reach in I wear this kind of fanny pack thing. I've got my big coat, my fanny pack bag, and I reach in to grab my business cards and out flies a mini pad. in the middle of this dealer, this beautiful showroom on this beautiful tile floor is like my mini pad. Yes, they're laughing, and I'm just like, oh, let me grab that. I'm so glad it's women I'm talking to today. So that was a great story.
If you ever wanted to be in the Matrix and pause, that would have been that moment.
Totally. So they're never going to forget me. It was a great icebreaker for sure.
That's an awesome story. Oh my gosh. And I could totally see your facials where you're like, oh, you're always so good about just blowing things off. And so I'm more like fumbling around going, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. That was me.
Let me stick this in my back pocket.
Well, at least it was the three ladies and not the other gentleman, right?
Totally.
That's a little bit more awkward.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good week. Well, I didn't have anything exciting this week. So I am, it was just a normal starting the new year. So your sales story this week actually wins. So good job.
Thanks.
Award goes to you. Well, this podcast, number 2, I'm super excited about. This is actually one of my favorite topics that we're going to talk about, and it's networking. So what is it? Why do we need it? How do you even do it? These are all questions that we're going to hope to address today for everyone. And yeah, how do you like networking? Because I'm a more extroverted person. You're kind of a little bit more introverted than me.
Yeah, 100%. I would say out of the two of us that's a stronger suit for you. And I think that's something that's really important to talk about for sales reps. Like, we're not all the most, like, we have skill sets that are stronger, and sometimes we have to kind of kick ourselves out the door at times. And that's what I have to do in the networking platform, because I would classify myself as kind of an extroverted introvert. Like, I would prefer to be home with my bra off and on my couch in the evenings than on about, honestly.
Well, hey, us extroverts can do that too.
But it's a really important. Like networking is
Yeah.
a really important piece of
Yeah.
building a strong sales career. And
Hmm.
so you've helped me even see the value in that more than I did prior to like our friendship and our communications
Hmm.
about our successes in sales.
Thanks.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love networking. So what is networking for the person out there just starting? So to me, networking is the process of making connections and building relationships. So in turn, it can help you with developing contacts personally or professionally. I've used it both sides of my life. Gain advice, find a job, build relationships, further your career and meet goals. I think it's all about meeting like-minded people who can offer value to you as well as you in turn are offering value back to them. I think that's the key is that reciprocation factor, right?
I love that.
Yeah, that's important. And from a networking extro slash introvert perspective, do you kind of freak out and you're like, oh, I really got to go
I
network? I got
do
to be in front of
sometimes.
people.
Yeah, sometimes I do. And sometimes I really honor that and I will choose not to go, but I think that that's a valuable kind of segue to like where we're networking, right? Like I don't
Yeah,
overcommit to networking and I have some very specific areas that I network, like I have made an attempt at taking it even a step further in some of the organizations. I'm a committee member now for one of the
hmm,
organizations that I'm a part of. So it makes my give back easier because I am actually giving back to their
right,
organization
right.
in a way that makes it kind of easier to be there than just showing up cold, right?
Yeah,
So I've
yeah,
had to kind of pivot some things, do some things a little bit differently, pare some down I actually am doing the deed of going,
right.
right? Because I mean,
Because
if
I
you
think you
don't
can
show up,
overextend. Yeah,
you
I think you
can.
can definitely
Yes.
overextend yourself and get super excited. Like, I'm in this new company and I believe in it. Everything's great. Drink the Kool-Aid. I need to get out there, tell the world. And then you start signing up for all this stuff, and then you're going to really deplete your energy really quick. So,
Yeah.
when we do network, I think that's a thing. Where do people network that's effective? On my side of cybersecurity sales, or even MLM stuff I've done in the past, anything in person, I think really is where you're going to thrive networking. It's more organic, it's more natural. So in person events, conferences, things of that nature. Also, social media platforms, professional networks like LinkedIn, websites, blogs, TEDs, whatever. I think those also are very helpful. When it comes to networking, you don't have to just do it in person. So for the introverts, yay! You don't always have to be out. You can do it from the privacy of your home. Because when you're connecting on platforms like LinkedIn, you can just start connecting with people, commenting, communicating your opinions, compliment people, suggest things, question. I think the one thing that always stuck with me that a mentor told me back in the day was, don't be a spectator, be a participant, get
I love that.
involved. And I think that's probably where I jumped in and was like, oh, this is pretty cool because it can help you, right?
Yeah.
Now on the flooring side, is it kind of the same as far as where you're doing your networking, similar to kind of what I mentioned?
Yeah, I think similar. I mean, there are some differences in that I feel like your client is a little, not that my clients are unprofessional. I shouldn't say that. That's not it at all. But I deal with a lot of creatives, right? Because I'm dealing
Hmm.
with designers who are picking product for the end use in a commercial building, commercial space. And designers are creatives, right? They're picking
Right.
colors, they're picking products, they're picking and technical. They have to pick things that will work in an area. So I share a little bit of personal on LinkedIn also,
Hmm.
not like I would on like Facebook or Instagram, but like a little bit of kind of the back end of my life if I'm working on
Right.
something like in a leadership capacity that could help people or
Right.
like so I kind of try to drip in a little bit of that, not just posting products or project posts or
Totally.
yeah and
Don't
then
be spammy tammies.
yeah, right. Like, but you want people to kind of get a feel for who you are. I mean, I took over The major metro in my state was not something I called on in the past. I have been in this industry for 30 years, but it's new to me, like 17 months into calling on our major metro in the state. I used to just be a rural, I say just, not that, I mean, it was great, but I was a rural territory rep. So now I have the whole state, including the major metro, which is new for me. So what better way to connect with people than LinkedIn to find the people that are in, especially since some of our design firms are not, and architect firms are not back full time in office. We still have a lot of people that are hybrid working, which I think will last. I think that that's going to be
that's our new normal for sure.
Yeah. And so what a great place to find people than LinkedIn and to be able to connect with on LinkedIn. And I think you use in Messenger a little bit differently and a little bit more than me. So we share a little bit about that because you've shared some things that have been really insightful for me in regard to that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, LinkedIn is a good tool. I mean, in any successful networking, it's not just one end all be all. So LinkedIn is one of the tools I use in a couple different ways. It's definitely not the platform to post your food pictures unless you are probably a foodie or a chef or something in that vertical, right? Because it is a professional platform. On the cyber side, you don't find very many people posting a lot of personal very often. It is very professional, structured, architects, engineers, a lot of technical stuff like that. But it is important for people to see who you are from a human standpoint. So, I will do occasionally some motivational things of that nature because that's who I am. And I want them to see that. But when I'm doing reach outs on LinkedIn, you get your account list, you're like, oh no, how do I meet all these people that I don't know who they are? The cool part is you just start Googling who's the Chief Information Security Officer at company XYZ. Then you go to LinkedIn and you're like, okay, there's Bob Marley or whatever his name is. And you send him a connection request, but then he gets 100 a day. Why would he want to accept yours? And that's where I kind of take a little step different is I'll do a video message to say, hey, you've never met me before, want to put a face with a name, would love to kind of get connected to you. I see you're part of this alumni group or you're on the board of this company, and just try to connect with him on that personal or her on that personal level in that quick moment in a video message. And it doesn't always work, but they're getting something different that they're not always getting, which is just that, hi, I'm so-and-so, please accept my connection request. And they're like, why do I need to know you? The other beautiful part about LinkedIn is the connections. There's a part on there where I love to see if I'm, again, we're going to use Bob Marley as our executive. If I'm trying to reach Bob Marley and I see that LaDonna Hale is connected to him, I'm not going to go to Bob Marley. I'm going to go to LaDonna Hale and say, hey man, you're connected to Bob Marley. Can you get me an intro? Can you help me get in there? And I think those kind of not being afraid to ask the question, I think is really helpful in networking.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah.
Why would I want to go stress out when I could just call you up and, you might have played pickleball with Bob Marley last week. I don't know what you do. He seems like a pickleball person. That's
I love it.
But yeah, so I think LinkedIn has its advantages. I also think there's so many other business platforms too. If you are in the creative space, I know that there are a lot of more creative things that you have to do. Videos are good, but LinkedIn is cool because it also gives you the metrics and stats of what you're posting. And so that's really helpful to kind of gauge your audience. Because, these people are like us, right? We just lay in bed and scroll LinkedIn to, what's going on in the world of LinkedIn, people I'm trying to connect with. Yeah. And so eventually they're going to see you and what your posts are. And then you're going to walk in their office one day and they're going to put 2 and 2 together, right? Because you go into a lot of physical offices. I don't have to do that as much.
Yes, I do. I on the regular, like today I was in 4. Yeah. Yeah, that's a really
Did you drop anything out of your bag? That's all I want to know.
No, I didn't. Some mini donuts, but those were intentional drops.
Okay. You kept it all good.
Nothing crazy.
See?
I know I'm a little bit more careful now about what's in the pocket of this new Columbia jacket I bought because they kind of have these like sideways. Anyway, the pockets are weird. Like things are like, okay, LaDonna, be
they
careful.
Just fall right out.
There. Yeah, totally.
That's awesome. Well, and that just kind of comes back to, why do people want to network? Why, if we're going to talk to the introverts or the people just starting out in their sales journey, why should they make the effort to fit it into their day?
Because if you're in sales, it is a lot easier to sell to someone that you have a relationship with or you have some kind of common ground with. And so, what better place to do that than networking events, whether it
Mm-hmm.
be industry organizations? I mean, there are so many in my industry as far as organizations that support the industry. There's facilities managers, have IFMA, architects have American Institute of Architects. Education has a 4LE plus an Oregon one. Like, so whatever it is that
Right.
you're selling, really pare it down. Look at who is your client, your end user, the person that you want to eventually buy from you. I mean, what better platform than to create warm leads as opposed to just cold calling all the time?
Yeah.
Because cold calling is challenging. It's probably one of the most challenging pieces of sales. I have
Mm-hmm.
watched people quit because of cold calling. So if you can
Yeah.
warm that up and if you can get people comfortable with who you are, get comfortable with who they are through networking events. So there's at least some kind of common ground, like you said. I mean, we've even in my territory, reps have created these kind of communities where multiple reps are going in and doing presentations together and offering
Mm-hmm.
that because then it's more bang for the end user or the clients. But to see a few of us who may have something that would be appropriate for projects.
Yeah.
So
That's
it
the
just
great
warms
part.
things up, right? It
Yeah,
warms
nobody
things
wants
up.
to dial for dollars. If you've ever started
No,
in your sales career dialing for dollars, I commend you for making it
it's
this far
so
because
hard.
it is so hard to do. But yeah, I think to your point, growing, networking is so important personally and professionally, right? You can
Yeah,
do this both because you can grow your business, you can learn about your prospects, you can learn about your customers, your competition. It's very
yeah.
good to network job opportunities. So it's a huge knowledge sharing component, I think, to sales and even to the rest of your life. Like a lot of times, if you have kids and they're in school and everyone's like, just sign up to be part of the PTA. And you're like, I have 2 children, I can't be part of the PTA. Volunteering on stuff like that, again, offering a service of yourself to someone in need of something, in turn, it'll come back to you. And I
Yes,
think that's the
agreed.
most important thing about networking is not just thinking how many LinkedIn connections can I make today? It's like intentional.
Yeah.
Who the end goal, yes, for me is I have a quota. I'm trying to sell things. That's the end goal. But what's the path that's going to get me there? And so that's why when you get to the point where you can, to your point of you're being part of a board, that just networking and being on a board of something or volunteering consistently with a group, that's going to build your network twice as fast because those people are funneling you out. And it's just a big funnel system, right?
Yes, 100%. Yeah, because you can also spread yourself. I mean, when I took this territory over, I wanted to visit as many as I could to just get a feel for where I felt the most aligned. Right. So I was spread a little thin the first year. I've pared my networking, the areas that I network in, down a bit because I did get a feel for what I barely skimmed the surface of what is available to network, and I
Right.
still was doing a lot, right? So
Right.
so it also helps you think creatively because there's a lot of different areas that your ideal client, hangs out.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, I mean,
Right.
unless you're really specified. I mean, yeah. So I mean,
If your vertical is like literally
really
targeted to a
small,
certain group.
yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes. But for most of us in sales, I mean, the person that we ultimately want to help with a product or service that we offer, because if you're always thinking of sales like that, like, of course you want, I mean, most of us are in sales to make income. I mean,
Right.
I love to have an uncapped stream of income, and
Right.
I set myself up to be in a territory where I do have an uncapped supply of people I can sell to,
Mm-hmm.
and my number can just be whatever I choose to make it based on my efforts, right? Um,
Right.
but I also, you can overextend in the networking in networking. So you
Right.
want to get dialed in and get pretty specific and visit. If you're new in your territory or new in what you're doing, visit some different things and get a feel for like where you feel the best and where you feel like you can actually build connection and build relationship. Because ultimately, this
Right.
is about relationship based selling. You're going to have the most fun. You're going to have the most reward, the
Right.
most emotional reward when you're selling based on building relationship as opposed
Right.
to cold selling.
Exactly. That's a good point. I think that's the thing for me is that I need more people fishing for me in the world.
Yes.
So, right. So to cast my people as my net, so to speak,
Yeah.
it's really, really helpful. Networking for me has been successful even on the personal side of things. I've had people call me for job offers because they met me at an event and they liked what I said or my energy or etc. Those kind of things are helpful. So we build our network when we're, raising our kids or have families, all on the personal side, right? You're getting to know your neighbors in case they need to watch your house when you travel. You're getting to know the neighbor because she might need babysit your kids. That networking is the same. Just get it over into the professional world because people buy from who they like, who they know, and who they trust.
Yes.
If they don't fall in one of those three categories, just walk away and wait till it's time, because I think that's the most. I have tried to force sales, not necessarily knowing someone clearly or them knowing me, and it's just backfired. So I think that's the true key of networking. And for the introverts out there, start with one little thing. Start with do you have a LinkedIn page, and are you connecting to every single person you meet within your vertical of what you're selling? Add them to your LinkedIn and say, hey, I'm building my. It's okay to be honest. I'm building my network. I would love to connect with you because we're in the same industry. Like, you can be that honest and that, I think, open about it. Because most likely they want the network too. They're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So I think the only time I've had rejections on some of the connection online stuff is, people that are like, I know that company and I don't want any part of it. And that's a bummer because they don't get to know me. And my goal is not for them. I'm going to have 10 companies I'm going to work for, right? Or in a lifetime. Your brand is your brand. So LinkedIn, no matter what company or what you're selling or what's in your bag, it's you. Like, people are going to buy from you.
Yeah. So you want to build that network.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's the cool part about networking. And I just, I like to do fun things. So being, researching I cover 3 states in my industry. So researching what's going on in Colorado. I don't live in Colorado, but then you research what's going on there. So when I travel there, I can start going to certain meetings or events.
I love that.
Yeah, stuff like that. So it's really cool.
Smart.
Well, I know that we've got some tips for our listeners on networking, and I'm sure this one might really have scared the introverts because they have to get out there a little bit. But we're here to help you guys. Always email us, reach us. All of our contact information is always in our podcast. But let's give some tips. So let's see, 5 tips to effective networking. Do you think 5 is kind of enough? I think that's a good start.
I think that's great.
Don't overwhelm them. So the first one, be honest. Authentically you.
Yeah.
Organic.
Yeah.
How many people have you met with like, oh my gosh, it's nice to meet you, blah, 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 and they're just going and you're like, are you done? Walk away. Don't be pushy. I mean, you want to be strong. You want to be confident. I mean, you want to be who you authentically are, because at the end of the day, they want to buy from who they like, who they know, and who they trust. And now keep in mind, you're not going to be for everyone. That's okay.
Yeah.
Don't take it personal. So I think that's a good number 1. Be honest.
Yeah, I love that. And, speaking to that, not everyone is the perfect client. So, I mean, I have walked away from clients before because I just felt like there was a misalignment in values. And I felt like we were going to have a rocky road because of that. And so my energy and my fuel is so important. And so I would rather put that in another basket than spend time wasted with a misaligned personality. It doesn't mean that you aren't going to have challenging clients, because you will. I have some clients that challenge me a little bit more than others, but you also can pick and choose at times who you're selling to. I think that that's important. And so in speaking to the being honest and being authentic, strong and confident was another thing you said. Strong and confident. How do you build your confidence? You show up, you force yourself out of the box to ask some questions. You do personal development. You do the things, you work on you so that you are confident in who you are. And then you will get more confident as you go along in networking events. Like, I say that I'm an extroverted introvert, and there are times when I am more challenged, but I'm a way better networker now than I was 30 years ago when I was first getting started, because I have forced myself to spend time doing that. So it's not as terrifying when I do it now.
Yeah. Well, and even being an extrovert, it's everyone says, oh, it's so easy for you to talk to people. Yeah, but that doesn't mean I know what I'm doing or what I'm saying or how I'm standing. Or there's so many variables. But
Yeah.
when you just pause and say, I am me, and I'm good, and I'm a good, like my intentions are coming into this network event open to help anyone with what I can help them with.
Yeah.
I guarantee you it'll come back tenfold. So yeah. And so
Agreed.
when you're walking into network, I think I learn this all the time. I'm a chatty Kathy, and I love all my Kathys out there. I'm chatty. I always have been. But the second tip in networking is listening. Networking is truly 80% listening, 20% talking. Most often they have something that you want, so you have to listen to them. So even to this day, it's very challenging for me, but that is something I do a lot of personal development around, is how to be a better listener, because it's so crucial if you're missing what the customer's asking or what the person's saying.
Agreed. I know some of it's like my mind works really fast, and so I'm oftentimes picking things up really quickly. And so I may know what they're going to say next, right? Because I can feel where the conversation is going, and I have to work on that all the time. Like, I don't need to finish the conversation. I need to be patient and put my listening ears on and let them finish before, because I have looked rude at times because of that. Or when I get really excited about something, like when someone's sharing something that I really love and I'm super jazzed, I'm like, oh yeah. And I'm like, okay, interrupt. Like, be quiet, Donna. Like, just because you're excited, let them like get there. Because I mean, sometimes I scare people and they're looking at me like, what in the hell? What just happened to me? Like, oh, sorry. Apologies. Like, yeah.
I get that too. And I think at the same time, it's definitely something that we just have to work through every day. So, to all of our listeners out there, you don't have to know how to do anything right the first time. We want to fail. We want to fail and learn and go again. So, yeah, that's always a good one, which goes into our tip number 3, be understanding with people. What you're asking for, it's a request. The other person is not obligated to fulfill it. And so when you're sending out your connection requests or you're giving out your business cards and you're like, call me, I'll take you to dinner, or let's connect, don't take it personal. I've had to learn this. I take everything personal, like everything. So I've had to really work on this, because if they don't respond to me, I'm like, what did I say? Did I say it wrong? What was my tone? Did I wear the right jacket? My mind just goes. So I think that's the key, right? There's no obligation in networking.
Yeah.
On either side.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And then don't always make it about business. That's another tip. You're building a relationship, however long or short that relationship may be. You want to know something about them. You want them to know a little bit about you. So the best way to touch someone is through a selfless act of generosity. This is what we're just talking about. You got to give without expectation. And that's really hard to do when you have a boss breathing down your neck, or a quota to meet, or a count list of things, 10 calls by the end of the week. I know that's hard to do. I'm there with you. But when you pause and go, okay, I'm going to give without expectation, information, tips. How can I help these people? I know they're going to come back to me and say, well, she was great. She helped me out. I'm going to give her a bone. Right. I think that's, whether it's advice or things, and this has happened with you, like, whether it's the advice, it's give. You give so much advice to me. And then occasionally I'm like, yay, I can help you. So it just comes back. So, whether it's advice, thank yous, assistance, compliments, it doesn't matter. Just pay it forward.
Yeah,
with the right
I
network,
love that.
That forward will eventually always come back to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like, and when you're thinking about it like that, it makes the other side of the selling process so much easier, right? Like, we're not always looking to make money. Sometimes we're just there because, I mean, I have a friend that I ran into who's a rep like me, sells a similar product. I mean, very crossover product to what I sell. And we're both in a really similar space in our journeys with our parents, because my parents are aging. My husband and I manage my parents' care. We do some caregiving, but then we are responsible for the caregivers that come in. And she's in that space too. And I didn't know that, but I could tell that she was feeling a little heavy one day when I ran into her at an architect's office, and we were both just updating libraries. So we weren't seeing our clients. We were just servicing our product in their office. And I I just visited with her, and
Mm-hmm.
she needed to have that listening ear and hear that I'm also in a similar situation. And so it's just really, it's valuable on a heart level to do
Yeah.
that and to be open when we're out and about in the field, because
Mm-hmm.
even though that doesn't benefit my paycheck, it benefits
Right.
me as a human and her as a human, and I just really like her. And
Right.
I always wish my competitors well, especially the ones that I like. There's enough room
Right.
for all of us out there. Um,
Agreed.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's important. I don't
Mhm.
think through the years of selling, I mean, we didn't have all the tools we have today, but people are still people and we're still
Yeah.
selling to people, right?
Hmm.
AI hasn't taken over
Hmm.
everything yet. So I think what you did is awesome. And you know, I've known you for years and that is exactly your nature. I mean, you walk down the street and that happens to you, but it's definitely something that I think is important. And that's the last
Hmm.
tip on this piece of it. And then we'll go into some really good value questions for our listeners,
Hmm.
but is don't give up. It can be super tedious work, networking, but
Hmm.
stay the course. Trust us. In time, it will pay off. You know, that one competitor to you, she might work for your company or give you the lead because she might be retiring. So
Yeah.
you never know when those type of moments are going to happen.
Hmm.
So I think, you know, stay the course on that. You know, don't give up. Don't worry about the no's. Don't be afraid of no's. It's just
Yeah.
not right now. Take your no, retrain your brain to a not right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I love
Well,
that.
let's give them some good value questions, to help them
Yeah.
out.
I mean, I do this with my end users. I have kind of a list of questions that are just in my mind that are, I
Mhm.
want you to think about questions in relation to this. Think about questions in relation to the answer coming in the form of not a yes and not a no. So when you are asking questions, when you go into a networking event, you want to be authentic and you want it to kind of flow, right? So you don't want to go in with these scripted questions and be like, I'm
Right.
going to ask them all of these. But when you have some questions that are kind of
All before the
icebreakers,
dinner comes.
before the dinner comes, you're going to ask all of these questions. That is not what I mean. Be authentically you. Be authentically you. But like when I go into an end user, I know the open ended questions that I need to kind of get out in my first few minutes of that conversation so that I can decide where I steer that conversation for that visit or for my comeback, because I need to come back with a service that's going to work for them or a product that's going to work for them. Well, it's no different in your networking efforts. So I'm going to just kind of read through these. I wrote them because I
Yeah.
didn't want to forget. One is when you go into the networking event, you want to lead with your values when you go in. So like, I know that I'm filled with integrity. I like to have fun. I'm very loving and kind and authentic and gracious by nature. So I'm going to try to open those conversations up based on that, right? Like I know my value proposition. So if you don't know that, if you've never done that, sit
Yeah.
down and write out what your core values are, because you want to be having conversations with people that kind of have that
Right.
feel, right? Those same, I want to be around fun people. I want to be around people that are loving and kind. And maybe they're introverted and they're not talking much. And that doesn't mean that they're not loving and kind. And I can bring that
Right.
out, hey, and get someone to engage and have conversation more. So, I,
That's awesome because those values tap into the like-minded people, and we all gravitate to
yes.
people like-minded people. So, I mean, I don't want to hang out with someone who's into something I'm totally not into. That'll be super
Yeah.
boring and annoying. So, I
Yes.
think leading with your values, that's a great one. So, if you've
Yeah.
not
So if
written
you
out your
know
values,
that,
write it out.
yeah, if you don't know that and you've never done that, take the time to do that. And then some questions that I kind of keep in my back pocket as I'm going into an event is, what do you do? What's your
Mm,
role in your company? Are there any challenges that you're facing right now? How long have you been a part of your organization? What professional organizations are you a member of besides this organization?
that's a
Are there
good
others?
one.
Isn't that a good
That's a
one?
good one
Because
because they're going to tell you when you're going to take a note. And I mean, I always have my phone out with the notes and I say, I'm not
yeah,
texting, I'm taking notes. I'm 51. My brain doesn't work as well as it used to. And so I think that's great because then you're learning about other groups or just other events that you might not know about. So again, you're fishing and they're fishing. So you're just
yeah,
sharing that knowledge transfer is awesome. That's a good one.
yeah. And, because I'm a sales rep, when I first started in this territory, I asked that, who's the rep that you see the most that you like what they're doing for you?
Mm-hmm.
And why do you like that? And then that led me to a rep that is in the same industry but different products, who I've done some joint things with. But then I've asked her, hey, what organizations are the most valuable up here, right? So that just is a feeder to other information that will be helpful for you. What do you like to do outside of work?
That's a good one. That's a good one because you're personalizing that moment with them, and it also helps you remember things about them. Right.
Yeah. And if you just have that in your back pocket, that's easy. That's an easy, I mean, it's not the first thing you probably want to say to someone, you know, hey, how are you?
Right.
Like,
but what do you like to do?
What do you like to do? I mean,
I guess you could ask it if you're a speed dating round or something.
Yes.
If you're in a speed dating event,
networking,
we give you approval to ask that first.
Yeah. So also like make sure, you know, and if you get it wrong, whatever. Like,
who cares?
I mean, try it on for size. But when you memorize some really core questions that are engaging questions to get someone to have conversation, to help with conversation, it makes it easier than having kind of that blank moment of quiet in a conversation.
Hi, how are you? I'm good. How are you? Who do you work for? XYZ. Yeah. Who do you work for? ABC. Okay. And then you stand there and you're like,
crickets.
Yeah. And then you're like, oh, look, they put out the hors d'oeuvres. I'm going to go get one.
Go get some more shrimp. Which is fine. If you need to do that, go get more shrimp. It's absolutely fine. How did you get into, here's another one. How did you get into this field? What was your dream job as a kid?
That's a really good one too.
That's a good one.
I had somebody ask me that once, and I thought he was weird when he asked me, but then it was like I processed it for a few days. Yeah. And then I ended up seeing that person maybe a year and a half at another event. And I was like, I did not remember his name or who he worked for, but I was like, you're the guy that asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. And so I remembered him because of that question. Yeah.
So it's really, it's engaging. I think that's a really engaging question. What are you grateful for? That's my last one. What are you grateful for? That's a great question. And obviously insert that as it feels right. Like, I mean, if you're meeting a CFO,
not your first question?
No, hey, what are you grateful for, Mr. CFO? I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, if you can
do it, you can do it.
There's
a door and you can walk right on out of
it. Angie could do it. Angie could pull that one off. I probably would fumble around with that one a little bit.
Yeah,
so that's what I had. Yeah, that's what I had for those.
That's actually really good. Those are really good. I think, just coming back to making sure that and we're started the New Year's. This is a perfect time for the networking. I think that's why we wanted to start with this topic, because when you can create, top 5 values of who you are, I think that's important. And then you have your own personal value prop and everything you're doing is around those things. It's going to be more easier to meet people, remember people, because I think that's one of the biggest things that happen. I get people that ask me questions. What do you do when you forget someone's name and then you see them again? And I was like, oh my gosh, I just run away from them. And she's like, really? I was like, no, I don't. You just go say, it is so good to see you again. I'm sorry, forgive me. What is your name again? Because most likely they don't know your name. So
yeah, it's not offensive.
Right. Yeah. And I think going back to just being honest, I've had people skirt around even saying hi because when I did catch them, like, you saw me. Why didn't you say hi? I couldn't remember your name. Okay, well, that's weird. Just say, I'm sorry I can't remember your name, but I saw you at the last event we were at. So I think don't overthink networking is a good message, because we're all just people and we're all dealing with personal shit and we're all dealing with professional shit, and we're going to blend in the middle. Have grace for yourself. Yeah. I think that's not something we were ever taught in the corporate world. It's okay to put yourself first and say, I'm really not comfortable here, but I'm going to make my rounds and then I'm going to leave. Like, give yourself permission to push a little bit of your comfort zone, and then it's okay, as long as you're doing the things you need to do. So yeah, I think this was a good segment too, because we covered a lot of things in this one.
We did. Thank you, Angie. I really appreciate it a lot. Yeah. I mean, you're so good at this. And just like Angie said, if you're on here and you're listening and you have questions, please reach out to us. We're both here to help. This is something that I've learned a lot from Angie around. And so definitely, yeah, for sure. So thank you so much, Angie. This was great. It was helpful for me too. And just kind of a reminder to stay focused and tenacious about building my network.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, sales sheroes out there, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to head out and go see how many crazy stories we can get before the next podcast. So we'll chat with you next week.